Hey guys, what's going on? So I'm going to address this comment right here, and I think it's a good one. This was a comment that was left on a video about what conductors actually make in a year. So that information, yeah, 90% of the time, you're just sitting on a train. You're moving from one terminal to the next, taking your load where it needs to go, making sure nothing happens along the way, make sure your speed limits are applied, that all your signals come up correctly, keep in contact with the dispatcher. I mean, pretty easy stuff. You sip your coffee and you bullshit with the other guys in the cab. That being said, things happen. So your train goes into emergency. You got to get out and inspect it. Cars come undone. You're moving along at a good clip. And perfect example, instead of me doing a separate video on the return trip from yesterday from Toledo to home, let's use this as an example. So we left and we're called for Toledo at 3 o'clock. So at 3 o'clock, we get to the terminal, get settled in, print our paperwork, and then our train arrives there at 4 o'clock. We're taking off at 4 o'clock. So for all intents and purposes, I should be back in Conway based on the type of train, because it's an intermodal, the 20T, back in my home terminal by 9:30. So it should be a 6.5 hour run. No problems, right? So you get on the road, making a good clip the whole way home. We're passing Cedar Point on the way home, looking at the lake. There's eagles flying over. It's a daylight run, which you don't get all the time. Deer hopping across the track, and you're checking it out with the other guys, having your lunch, bullshitting. Everything's fine. Then you get about, let's say, you're about 8 signals away from home. And you're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to make it home at 9:30. Good to go. They stop you and say, hey, we got to let you sit for about a half hour. We got to let a train get around you. All right, no big deal. All right, so I'm going to get home 10 o'clock. And then you're like, okay, well, we get moving along. Then you get a little bit further, and they stop you. The train in front of you is having trouble with their dynamic brake. There's no way to get you around. You're going to sit for an hour and a half. All right, yeah, you're just sitting on a train, but you're sitting on a train. So you're waiting for that to move along. Then you get 4 signals away from home. This is 20 miles from your home terminal. And when you're in that situation, you literally could get off of the train, go to the hot dog shop next door, and walk back to the terminal before your 12 hours expired. But you're taking care of the train. So you're sitting there. I didn't get off of my shift until 1:30 at night. Well, the next morning. So that's the inconvenience that they're paying you for just sitting on a train. In addition to that, when we got back to the yard, the dispatcher comes on and says, hey, there's a problem with your 8th car. It's empty. It needs to be cut out of your car, taken over the hump, and removed from your train before it continues on to Harrisburg. You guys might have to take care of that. So we're sitting there waiting for that to happen. Luckily, they made the next crew do it. So that's the inconvenience they're paying you for. I hope that clears that up.